Hi everyone, Simon Jacobson here. Another episode of Meaningful Live. The Soul of Sacrifice. What Memorial Day teaches us about immortality. This program is dedicated by Marsha Bonar in honor of Eric Joshua Sereni. Memorial Day has become more or less a day that marks the beginning of summer vacation. You have Memorial Day sales, the commercial side of it, and so many of the other cultural, materialistic elements. But everything has deeper meaning, and we should always be looking for personal lessons that we can learn from everything, frankly. And Memorial Day conjures up in my mind something that goes deep into our own psyche. And I speak now the Jewish custom of Yizkor. Yizkor is the prayer, the memorial prayer that we say on Yom Kippur and other holidays where we remember our loved ones. And for me, it always is connected with immortality. That's really what memory is all about. Immortality. Even though you think memory is you're remembering the death of people who've fallen in battle, or in our personal lives, death is like actually a symbol of our mortality, not immortality. But remember, it's the memory, is that it lives on with us, and we don't forget. Imagine life without memory. Imagine life without memory. I know some people would prefer that, because memory also has many of the negative memories, the traumas, the suffering, the pain that many of us have experienced. But memory also has the beautiful things, those warm memories. Everyone has something in their memory banks that they want to hold on to. I definitely hope so. So memory is a critical piece in our lives because it allows us to re-experience magical moments, even sad moments. I remember very vividly when my father died 20 years ago. It was 5:17 in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon. In the Hebrew month, it was 20th of Iyar. I'm trying to remember what it was in May, what day in May it was. It was right before Memorial Day, actually. And I remember it, and I don't ever want to forget it, even though it was extremely painful to see a person you love, a body energized by a soul, and then only a body, the soul separating, going to whatever mysterious place it goes to. But as painful as it was, as shocking as it was, I never want to forget that, because it connects me with him. And I'm sure it connects him with his parents. And so, generations. I always think of seeds. Every tree grew out of a seed. That seed came from a previous tree, which in turn came up from a seed that preceded it. There's a certain moment, what's the word I want to use? A certain trajectory, unbroken chain, that really gives a person tremendous power if you're able to access it. Even though they attribute it to Sir Isaac Newton, it comes from Jewish sources much earlier, that we are like midgets that stand on the shoulders of giants. A midget is much smaller than a giant, but when you stand on their shoulders, you can see a lot further. And that's ultimately immortality. Yes, you have the pharaohs of old that tried to gain immortality through burying their brides or their children with them alive. They thought that would give them immortality. You have the cryogenic freezing today, that people think that will give them mortality. Immortality comes from connecting to that which came before you and perpetuating it. Think of it like a relay race in a marathon. So each of us has our leg. when we carry the baton. But then we pass it on. And we've also received it from those before us. Do you have values in your life? A legacy that you may have received from your parents, from grandparents? One that is worth fighting for, one that's worth perpetuating, sharing with your next generation? That's immortality. So is the children in our lives, our grandchildren. And even if one doesn't have children, the students, people you've influenced. These are the areas where we create eternity. And that is tremendous power. Tremendous power. Because the fact is, well, the Buddhists talk much about the fear of death, the finality. That's one of the driving force of most fears in life. But there's no need for it to be a finality if you really understand its bigger picture. And the bigger picture is indeed one where we understand that the soul continues its journey forever and ever. It used to always be very awkward, very difficult to answer the question when people asked, where does a soul go to upon death when it separates from the body? Where does it go to? You know, very hard to answer that question. But then for some reason, something came up. Almost it may sound like a little like a humorous, imaginary dialogue, conversation between a refrigerator and electricity. Where the refrigerator says to the electricity, hey, where do you go to when they pull the plug? Meaning, once the plug is pulled of the refrigerator, where does the electricity end up? It's no longer energizing the refrigerator. And the electricity responds incredulously. What kind of chutzpah, what kind of nerve you ask such a question? You're a little box they just invented 100, 200 years ago. And now you think that you're where it's at. You're the center of the universe. And you ask me where I go to. I was here long before you ever came around. And I will be here long before after you deteriorate, after you perish. They figured out how to contain me, that is the electricity, in a little box for a little short period of time. And now you think you're the center, you're where it begins and ends. Whether the refrigerator understands that response or not, but I think we all can. Of course that's the case. You suddenly realize that you think reality is defined by your myopic vision. No. Your instruments are limited. We have done tremendous things with those instruments. Our sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. Our power to intuit, to conceive, our imagination. We've changed the world, we've changed life. But don't ever think that that reality is limited to your farm, to your refrigerator, to your box. There's far more to reality. And that's understanding and appreciating immortality. You want to package immortality on your terms. Basically, you want to create a mortal thing to become immortal. That means trying to limit and trying to take the immortality and diminish it. You want to do the opposite. You want to broaden your horizons, expand your perspective, spread your wings, and embrace something that's far greater than you are. When you stand in awe of a beautiful natural sight, or you're mesmerized by and completely absorbed in a song, or you're reading a book and you're taken by it, what's happening? You are becoming part of a greater reality. You don't want that greater reality to become part of you. You want to become part of it. You want to be absorbed in it. You want to be lifted by it, elevated, soar. Transcendence. Transcendence is not packaging transcendence in your narrow space. It's about taking your narrow space and expanding it so you can experience something beyond the narrowness of your parameters. And that's the essence of this concept. So whenever I say Yizkor, which is essentially a memorial service, that's what I keep in mind. It always brings me to tears because it also opens you up, not just to sad memories of the past, but really to a reality that's greater than you are. And there's a certain resonating existential truth about knowing that there's much more to know and much more to experience than you can ever imagine. And you can be part of it. But it requires getting out of your ego, getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your own narrow perspectives, your prejudices, your biases, your subjectivity. But it's doable if you allow yourself. It's not comfortable necessarily because we like to be in control. We like to things be predictable. But the spontaneous is exciting. It's bold. It's experiencing something you haven't experienced before. It's going down the road less traveled. Some thoughts as we are here now on Memorial Day weekend that are more than just the, as I said, the superficial or the cultural elements, but to really think about that. And imagine that you really connect to generations before you that have sacrificed for their values, their lives, and you can connect with that. That's connecting, my friends, to immortality, to the eternal. I always gravitate back for some reason to William Blake's beautiful, beautiful poem, to see a world in a grain of sand, a heaven in a wildfire, in a wildflower, I said wildfire, wildflower. To hold eternity in the palm of your hand. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Yes, we can hold eternity. We can touch the immortal, but we have to give something up for it. And not give up something that's difficult. It's just to give up that, yes, that comfort zone, the narrowness of our own refrigerators, and allow ourselves to experience something. But for that, you have to define and identify what are your values. What are the things what are the love in your life? What are the things that are immortal in your life, that aren't truly worth living for and dying for and sacrificing for? We live in such a temporary world. Yeah, a very easy world where you can get anything at any time. But it is ultimately impermanent. So it's critical to create the anchors. I'll call them the immortal anchors. That anchor you, that connect you in a profound way with things that are not subject to the usual, the natural erosion, deterioration, and the perishing of everything that is combustible. To connect the things that are ethereal, that are beyond. And the more you can hold on to that, the more you can also weather the storms, the raging storms of our lives. The uncertainties, the unpredictability that is so disconcerting, disorienting, unnerving, demoralizing. Because you have those solid foundations that are unwavering. These are my Memorial Day thoughts, that our memories, our connections to those that came before us are so powerful. You know, the sequoia tree, most powerful and largest trees on earth. And scientists have always wondered what's the secret to these trees. So you would always think of how fertile they are, where they grow, but you wouldn't think of their roots until you come to discover, yes, it's their roots, which don't grow deep, by the way, but they grow wide. And all the sequoia trees are connected by the roots of each other. Now, roots are usually invisible to the naked eye. They're beneath the surface. Here, they're not that deep, but they're there. Those are roots that give the power for trees to grow. I don't know how many, few thousand feet or whatever it may be. Some of them are as wide as a highway, literally. And it just demonstrates what is real strength and real power. So it's not the power to control. It's not the power over others. It's not the power of money or the power of vanity. Those are very sugar-coated. Yes, they can give you a high, but not long. You'll need immediately another fix. Whereas these eternal connections create something that lasts forever. You know, relationships today are going through plenty of crisis, intimacy. But that's the secret. In relationships, intimacy, love, That's where you experience transcendence. That's where you experience eternity. People talk about love forever after. I know many people have become cynical about that. But that again is because what we're doing is we're taking these immortal concepts, these immortal experiences, and turning them into mortal jokes, if I may call it that. We trivialize it. We minimize it. When it should be the opposite. We need a lot more of opening ourselves up to these real experiences. And when you do, your life is changed. I would like to believe, and I'm confident that everybody here can identify some experiences like that. But you have to hold on to them because they're so precious and so far and in between, because so much of life distracts us. Everyone is demanding our attention, expectations, whether it's, especially today online, we're inundated, literally drowning in a deluge of that is over-stimulating all our senses. Time to pause a bit. As we enter the summer season, pause a bit, step back. What are the true values? What are those eternal roots, the eternal connections you have? That's what it comes down to. And yes, it requires stepping back and shutting down the hyperstimulation of our senses, of our sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. And yes, smell the roses, meaning experience something bigger, seeing the forest from the trees. I know the expression is, they say, seeing the trees from the forest. It's always confused me, but I think you get the idea. The bigger picture, and letting it inform the smaller picture. Again, some thoughts. Midsummer Night's Dream. Some thoughts to ruminate about and dream about and imagine. Imagine yourself in a greater place, connecting. And that indeed lifts us up. It's not an escape. It lifts us up and allows us to deal with more strength and more fortitude with some of the forces that drag us down, that gravitational pull of the refrigerator that limits our perspectives and limits our way of looking at things and frankly, limits our possibilities. You have that power in your hand. Yes, infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson, meaningfullife.com. If you've enjoyed this, if this has been meaningful to you, please share with others. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. Be blessed and be well. And see the extraordinary within the ordinary. See the infinite within the finite. See the eternal within the impermanent. Be well and be blessed. Thank you.